Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lunchtime Lessons with Lauren. I am Lauren Barlow, the owner and a career coach with Lauren Barlow Career Coaching. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry I'm a little late. My other session ran over a little bit. But today we are going to talk about interviewing. So, the title of this Lunchtime Lesson with Lauren is Interviewing Playing Offense, Not Defense. So, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here. So just like any other lunchtime lesson with Lauren, um, sorry, I can't talk. I thought I could talk at the same time, but talk and do things at the same time, but apparently I can't. So like any of the other lunchtime lessons with Lauren, as we're going through here, if you have any questions or comments or ideas, throw them into the chat. Once this quick presentation is over, I'll look into the chat and I'll answer any of the questions that we have. These lunchtime lessons are brief. It's like a 5 to 10 minute lesson. Today, it's obviously on interviewing, and then I dive into the questions, and then we wrap up. So it's just like a little something you can nibble on during your lunch, if you will. Most of these lunchtime lessons are on Thursdays at noon. It's usually the first Thursday of every month, but I was away last week, so now it's the second Thursday this month. Again, my name is Lauren Barlow. I am a career coach with Lauren Barlow Career Coaching. So I specialize in collaborating with motivated professionals who are trying to make a change in their professional life, but they're unsure about how to take their next step. So I help these professionals by providing job searching, networking, salary negotiation, and marketing tool coaching. All right, so let's dive in. So, when we're thinking about interviewing, the first thing you want to do before any interview, whether it is the phone interview, the big interview, a Zoom interview, you want to do your research. So, you want to know as much about the company, as much about the position, and as much about the people who are interviewing you as possible. You also want to learn as much as you can about the interview process with that particular company. So, a great way to learn about a company and to do your research so that you're prepared is to check out reviews on the company about the company on Glassdoor. Sometimes on Glassdoor as well, they will have information about what the interview process looks like for a certain organization for a certain position. Keep Glassdoor comments with a little bit of an asterisk. It is all opinion based and based on the experience of others. It's not like peer reviewed or researched information. So just keep that in mind. You can also just use Google, our friend Google, to interview or to search information like, interviewing at name of the company, just to see if there's any information out there about tips and strategies for interviewing with Boeing or Comcast or something like that. Also, Google, common questions in a blank interview. So, common questions asked in a career counselor interview or a marketing analyst interview, just to kind of get your brain thinking and get the gears turning about what to expect and what to anticipate when you step into that interview space. Lean on your network too. To help you with some of this research. If you know somebody that works for a particular company, or you know somebody who is working in a particular job that you're going for, reach out to them. Say, hey, I have this interview coming up. Like, are there any tips that you can share? Could we talk for 15 minutes? Don't ever ask somebody via email to like send you a laundry list of their interview tips. Take the time to talk to that person. It's much easier for someone to have that conversation in real time than to take the time to type out an answer to your email. Scour the employer's website and the job description, just to help you learn more about the employer's mission, projects they're working on, top clients that they have, and obviously scour the job description to get ideas about what specific kinds of skills they are going to be looking for and what they're probably going to be asking you about in the interview. The job description is the key. The job description is your friend. It can really help you unlock and anticipate the types of questions that you're going to be asked. So again, you want to use the job description to help you identify skills and experience that your future employer is really going to value knowing about in a potential candidate. Then you want to take it a step further and you want to think, okay, I'm seeing all these skills in the job description. I need to think about how my experience aligns with my future employer's needs. So, what would be most valuable to talk about in this interview? And what things have I experienced that maybe I don't need to talk about in this interview because it's not part of the job description? So, make sure that you take some time to self reflect. And again, this all goes to playing offense, not defense. By self reflecting, you want to ask yourself, you want to look at the job description, look at their mission, look at online resources, talk to your network, and think, what experiences have I had that would be most valuable to talk about in this interview? What are my biggest achievements in my career? How do they relate to this role? If I was hiring for this position, what would be the top things that I was looking for? And what do you want to make sure the interviewer knows about you before you leave the room? So, by answering these questions for yourself, now you have kind of notes, and I would write them down, either pen and paper or on just a Word document. But now you have information that you're ready to talk about in the interview. So you're not like, oh my God, what are they going to ask me? You're kind of like, which of these things am I going to talk about when they ask me a certain question? Again, write down your answers. So I would recommend crafting what I call achievement based stories, um, based on your answers to the questions in the previous slide. So when you're answering those questions, if you're thinking, okay, they need me to multitask. Think of a time when you've done that really successfully. They need me to manage client relationships. Think of a time or a couple of times when you have taken a client relationship from either a negative experience to a positive one, when you developed a relationship from scratch that generated revenue. Think about all of these achievements that you've had in your career and craft stories around them. You can anticipate questions based on the job description, um, the resources that we talked about on the first slide, and your experience. When you're crafting those stories, you don't just want to go on and on and on about information. I like to use the STAR outline. It's also known as SPAR, SCAR, SOAR, to kind of help you take those achievement based stories that you want to share in the interview and tell a nice story about them so that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, using STAR, for example, when you're thinking about a story that you want to share in your interview, you want to think STAR, S, situation. So, this is the who, where, when. Task. The task explains what you had to do in that situation. And then A, actions. What steps did you take to complete the task? And R, results. So, essentially, what happened in the end because of your work. So the task could also be, instead of a task, you can explain a problem, a challenge, or an opportunity. But the same thing, you have to explain the situation the story was in, explain the task, challenge, opportunity that you were presented with, explain the actions you took, and using powerful statements here like, I decided through my leadership, I used my expertise in order to, and then you explain the results of what happened at the end. So here's kind of a quick example. So let's imagine that you're looking at a job description and you see that one of the skills popping out in the job description is that they need this person to multitask in order to meet the demands of multiple stakeholders at once. So you think back to yourself and you think, so I titled this story Spring Semester Madness. So I think of a time when I was working at a university, and the spring semester was crazy. I had to handle multiple different things at one time. And so then from there, once you have your story in mind, you want to use the STAR strategy to outline your story. So I was thinking, an example of a question that could be presented in the interview, it could be something like this. The interviewer could say, this position will require the ability to multitask to meet the demands of competing stakeholders. Can you give me an example of a time when you had to balance multiple needs? When you had to balance the needs of multiple clients. So whenever someone asks you a question on an interview, take a beat and then Now you're ready. You're like, okay, let me play offense. I have an idea. I wrote this story down previously. I'm going to share it now. So S, situation. As a senior career counselor at ABC University, the spring semester was always really busy for my team. T, so this is the task. During the semester, I had to organize two industry specific career fairs, create classroom presentations for six different majors, and meet individually with over 100 very stressed out students. A, actions. I was able to successfully manage priorities in each of these areas by strategically scheduling events and presentations that gave myself as much time between each as possible, and creating daily, weekly, and monthly to do lists for myself and those who were helping me to make sure that we were all on track and on the same page. Doing this allowed me to be fully present during one on one student appointments so that I could do my best work. And then as a result, my events and presentations were well received and students felt prepared for their job search. So that didn't take too long to answer. It has a beginning, middle, and an end. And it's really thinking about the needs of my future employer, and it's taking my experience, it's putting it into that context. So a lot of times I have clients that are trying to make a little bit of a career change, but they have landed an interview for a job that might be just outside of what they're currently doing, or it might be in a role that's totally different, but they have enough transferable skills to get the interview. So that's kind of where I start with. I'm like, you've already done the hardest part. You must have done something right. You've networked with the right people. Your resume looks good. So you've done something right along this process to even earn yourself an interview. So great start right away. Now, all you have to do is just help the employer connect the dots between what you've done in the past and what they need you to do in the future by telling stories like the star story or the spar story, just to help, again, bridge that gap. You want to really focus on transferable skills when you are answering those questions and avoid saying things like, well, I've never done that. Um, Instead, I would say, I've done something very similar to that before. Here is an example. Just so that you're not kind of leading with the what you don't have, you're leading with the what you do have, which is what got you into the place that you're in right now, which is in an interview. You can also use your unique experience as leverage. So if you've been working in advertising or maybe you've been working as a teacher for the last 15 years, and you're looking to make a pivot to move into training and development. You can use the experience that you've gained through your presentation skills, maybe your classroom management skills, your process development skills in the classroom as a teacher, and you can explain how doing work in that environment makes you uniquely qualified for this environment because you've had experience that others who have been working in HR their whole life don't have and are not bringing to the table. So instead of being like, oh no, I don't have this, lean into what you do have. Because again, you've already done something right. You're in the interview. All right. That was probably longer than 10 minutes, although I'm not timing it, which maybe I should start doing. But thank you for tuning in to this lunchtime lesson with Lauren. If you have an upcoming interview or an upcoming offer negotiation and you would like someone to maybe help you prepare for those opportunities, please feel free to scan that QR code. You can schedule a consultation with me. You can also visit laurenbarlowcareercoaching.com and schedule a consultation at any time. I'm also obviously on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, so you can follow me there as well. I try really hard to post one or two tips a week. Most recently, it's kind of only been one tip, but it's good to have goals, so maybe I'll try and post more. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions later on, you can direct message me on any of the platforms where this is streaming. You can also add comments to this video once it is posted and shared, kind of after the fact, and I'm able to see those comments too, and I can respond at that time. So if you're watching this maybe tomorrow during your lunch on a beautiful Friday, you can add questions at that time too, and I can answer them as well. But all right, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye.